Morning, it's Friday and we've woken up to a slight problem with the refurbishment. Basically, we'd almost agreed a quotation for a build team to start with us in about 2 weeks' time. Unfortunately, because of certain conversations and obviously I'd not made my mind up, so it was partly my fault as well, that build team is now occupied. Which is normal for refurbishment. I don't want you to think that everything's going to run smoothly, because that's not what property is all about. So it's about adapting now to what can we do to be proactive to get this project keeping on track on the schedule. So we've just finished week one, which is the site clearance team. So they'd started on Monday and spoke to them last night, and they're going to have it finished by today. So what I've got to do now is try and find a build team to basically start as of not next week, but the week after. So we're heading now into week two, which gives us a little bit of time, because week two is all about the structural issues, step two of the refurb sequence. So we're going to be doing the damp-proof course, we're going to be knocking out any potential walls, so we've still got the staircase to do, which is another problem I'll get onto in a minute. So what we've got to do now is utilise today, Friday, maybe Saturday if some of the trades are working, and then all of next week to try and meet some of the trades down to basically get some quotations for the following. We need a plasterer, we need a joiner, and we need a plumber. They're the three main trades that we need. The issue is that everyone's so bloody busy. So next week it's fine, because we've got the damp-proof course, we've got the electrician going in, we're looking at the walls to be knocked down, we've got the central heating system sorted, because that's going to be thermoskirt heated skirting boards. But obviously we've got to start building en suites. We've got to look at staircases, we've got to get everything plastered out in the property. So these are the time constraints and the pressure that we've got to find, because everyone's so busy as self-employed trades. So sometimes it's easier to go for the project management team, where there's a team of 5 lads, for example, who are all going to go in and just do it at the same time, working together, as opposed to finding those individual trades. But it looks like we're going to have to go down that route on this occasion. The second problem, all problems this morning on a Friday, is the staircase. So the power of social media, you guys spoke out against the spiral staircase. So many of you messaged me saying don't do it, it's not worth it, you're going to have problems with getting suitcases up the stairs for guests, you're going to have problems with people breaking their legs falling down the stairs, lots of problems. And something, as I started to consider, not only that, I was quoted £1,600 to move the gas meter, which needs to be moved because it's in the way, and an extra £2,100 to move the electric meter. So as you can see, very costly amounts of money to move the meters, plus the staircase on top of that. Plus, it's not functional. So what we've done, we had my architect at our own house at the York project, and I asked him, I was like, what would you do? Pick his brain a little bit. Very, very intelligent person when it comes to the designing. And he was like, yeah, he could see the problem with the spiral staircase. And he advised, why don't you just keep the same shape staircase and just make it into a designer one. And then he gave us some ideas, and also we found this picture of what we really want it to look like with the floor to ceiling wooden slats. We posted that on Instagram, and that was a much favoured response from you guys to say that you really liked the idea. So we're going to be doing that, and hopefully it gives you guys as well an idea if you want to ever change up a staircase to make it look designer a bit better. Kush always sees cracks, little caulking cracks down the edges, and they creak a little bit. So we are going to be replacing the full staircase, but it's going to be for better, you know, for the better of the guests and functionally and appearance-wise. Today we're ringing up for quotations for the refurb project with 3 main trades on my mind, which is to find a plasterer, a joiner and a plumber. So I'm starting off firstly with trying to find a joiner, because that's the next step of the refurb. I've got to get the fire frames in order to plaster, and the plasterer comes in, and obviously the plumber will then do his first fix. So there's 3 main tips here that I want to share with you whilst I'm actively doing this today on how to find reliable trades. The first way is to, sounds silly, but to ring up trades that have already done work for you in that area. Obviously this applies if you've done a refurb project there before. Now, if they're not available, which is the same situation I'm finding myself now, so I need a plasterer, he's not available. So what I've done then is moved on to the second part, which is the second tip, is to then ask for a recommendation, who he recommends for trades that he knows, or who to use and who not to use. So he's actually sent me across some numbers for another plasterer and another joiner. So the first thing is to use trades who you already know are reliable. If they're not available for your timescales, ask for word of mouth in terms of can they recommend anybody. The third way, if you can't get that, is to search on websites like what I've got up here, which is Checkatrade and Google Maps. First thing you do is go straight to the reviews and the pictures of previous work and give them a call. Now, if they can start, brilliant, you know, or at least meet them down for a quotation, rather, I should say, that's fantastic. But again, finding trades is not easy. Finding good trades is not easy. So if they're unavailable again to meet your timescale, so I'm on a very tight timeline, I've got to get things in and finished, then you've got to ask them again for their word of mouth. It's always about, okay, you can't help me, but can you help me in another way? Can you recommend anyone? And that exact thing has happened this morning whilst I've been looking. And basically what happened was I found a very good joiner on Google Maps who had excellent reviews. Unfortunately, he's booked up until about March, April time. So he's recommended a joiner that he's worked with on previous jobs. And because he has excellent reviews, I'm trusting his reliability to send me a recommended trade. And what he's gone and done, I'll show you the text message. He's sent me two contact numbers for two other joiners. Now, I rang the first one. Again, he's booked up. But then I'm about to now ring the second contact that he's advised, and fingers crossed that he'll have availability. And obviously, at that point, I must stress, even though they've come recommended word of mouth, it's always important for you to do your own research on them again, find out their reviews, their previous work, and then meet them down at the property for a quotation. I'll ring him now, but also I just want to leave you one more thing. If you're not from the area where you're investing or where your project is, a top tip again is to potentially install a lockbox, which is something that I always do on my properties. Leave a lockbox. A lot of people are worried about, unreliable trades breaking in and living there forever, but it's not going to happen, trust me. Well, not happen in my experience. So I would always leave a lockbox. If you can't meet them at the property for a quotation and you're on a short time scale, at least they can get access to the property, look around, and obviously get a quotation. Before I ring, it's always best to have a list of the works ready so you know what you want to ask that trade and you know when your timescales are. So it avoids wasting their time and your time if they can't meet the criteria that you need to get started. So I rang the joiner and we moved that phone call conversation over to a WhatsApp chat. So for full transparency, I'm going to take you through that now, which will help you when you're finding your own trades. The first thing I did was I sent him across the joinery scope of works document, which I mentioned previously, and it's basically the list of tasks split into room by room. I also sent him across a floor plan of the property, which will help him to understand the layout of that property and the sizes of the walls and the dimensions, etc. The joiner then replied with his pricing attached to the scope of works, and it came to a total of £570 for the labour only. Plus he also attached his Facebook reviews and his quality of work, which I was very impressed with. We then agreed a start date, which fit my timescales perfectly. He came down to the property and undertook those works, which were highlighted inside that scope of works document, such as the door frames and the ensuite. He carried it out to a very, very high standard. And now for me, I've got a new joiner, which has been added to my trusted list of trades, which I'll be using again in the future and recommending to others in the area. Now, the whole point of these videos are to show the day-to-day struggles and challenges that we face as property investors, but also to find the solutions, just like we did here, by finding a reliable trade. As I mentioned, there are some free resources for you to download below this video, such as the scope of works template, which will help you to find quotations for your projects, as well as the refurb sequence, which breaks down step by step exactly what happens on your refurb projects, which will help you to plan out your trades. And finally, if you are looking for further education in property investment, we do have the James Property University, which I will leave a link below this video, and you can go and check that out. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Your support once again does not go unnoticed. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section and I'll be happy to go through them. Plus you can also leave on the notifications bell to make sure that you don't miss anything in the future. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.